Good afternoon and thanks for joining us at this time for Standpoint. I am Adetunji Adeteye. As usual, we'll be looking at stories that have made headlines in the outgoing week, and of course we'll be looking at two of the biggest stories today. Basically, we'll be looking at the passage of the 2017 budgets of recovery and growth, and then we'll be looking at the celebration of the Golden Jubilee of Lagos State. We call it Lagos at 50, and so we'll be doing that today on Standpoint. And we'll start with a report on Lagos at 50. Lagos is celebrating, and Nigerians generally are celebrating with the state. It's called the Center of Excellence. And just a few days ago, the Lagos State House of Assembly sat to talk about its own contributions to the state as it attains this great height. So let's take this report as put together by our reporter, Abimbola Agbebiyi.
It was a session set aside for reflections on Lagos in the last 50 years. One after the other, the lawmakers talked about how Lagos has fared since it came into existence, and principally the contributions made by the legislative arm of government through its laws aimed at achieving the success story Lagos now celebrates.
You cannot celebrate bad road, you cannot celebrate bad infrastructure, no bridge, no good schools and hospitals. We are celebrating today because we have something to show for it.
Mr. Akinwumi Ambode has emphasized a tripod for his government, the first of which is security, the second of which is infrastructure, and the third of which is job creation. For security, this has passed a very important law, the Security Trust Fund Law, which is to back up the efforts of the police, which cannot adequately police Lagos.
Lagos State was one of the dirtiest cities in the world. At that very time, everywhere in Lagos State is a dumping ground. But Loma was established. It was established by the Lagos State House of Assembly. It's this very law that translates to the cleanness of Lagos State.
The growing population of Lagos has placed lots of demands on its roads, with its resultant effect as seen in outright breakdown of law and order, as displayed by some road users. The lawmakers said the road traffic law passed by the House has made a lot of difference.
I thought Honorable Isubu will start from the traffic law that was enacted from this House, that has really created a lot of impact and saved a lot of lives. And the statistics shows when the Okada was banned from the major roads, that in Bobi and all other orthopedic hospitals, that there was a drastic reduction in the number of patients they are having there.
And while summing up the members' views, the Speaker of the House noted that the legislature has been able to establish a cordial relationship between the three arms of government in the state, among several other feats. The House concluded that the success story of Lagos cannot be well told without its immense contributions being highlighted. Abimbola Agbebiyi, TVC News, Lagos.
All right, that's the background to the story. We're talking about Lagos at 50. Right now, I'm joined by the Chairman, House Committee on Information, Strategy and Security, Honorable Tunde Braimo. Honorable Braimo, it's good to have you. Is it right to shake hands with you?
Yeah, why not?
Because, you know, with your attire,
I will have used my pambata to greet you, but because it's a bit lengthy, don't worry, it's good that we shake hands.
All right, so it's appropriate to shake hands with you.
Exactly.
All right, thank you. It's good to have you here this afternoon.
Same here, thank you.
All right, I think we should just go on a quick break. When we return, we'll start the discussions proper. Stay with us. All right, thanks for staying with us. We're looking at Lagos State at 50, and I have with me Honorable Tunde Braimo, is the Chairman of Lagos State House of Assembly Committee on Information, Strategy and Security. Honorable Braimo, why should Lagos celebrate at 50?
Well, there's every good reason for Lagos State to celebrate at 50. Lagos has come a long way. Lagos has evolved through the thick, through the thin, through very good times, like the creation of the state itself in 1967, and through not so good times like the movement of the federal capital away from Lagos in 1991. So through all this, Lagos had emerged stronger, better, and more prosperous than it had ever been. So we had to thank God that in spite of all the odds, Lagos State continues to be true to its name, the center of excellence, the state of aquatic splendor, and the land of opportunities and realities. Right. So Lagos is a place that you can come with a shirt on your back and you can become a billionaire.
Many of us have watched Lagos evolve from our little age anyway, and we've seen the transformation from 1999 to 2003, 2007, then 2011, and now 2016. Why is the Lagos story so different?
Well, the Lagos story is so different because it's a state that is particularly and especially blessed by God. What do I mean is that the state is endowed with some natural resources. The topography is unique. I mean, the endowments, we sing a song in traditional Lagos that we are the owners of the sea and the lagoon. And you cannot move those things away to Abuja, even if you move it to the federal capital seat to Abuja. Ekolo le okun losa, awa lọ́lọ́run fún okun òṣègbè losa Abuja o, ọ̀sà òṣègbè losa Abuja o, ekolo le okun losa, awa lọ́lọ́run fún. So these things is natural endowment. Then blessed with people, with men of great vigor, vitality, ability, agility to serve with passion, with the ethos, with the pathos of the job that they seek to get from the people. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu came in 1999. He turned around the fortunes of Lagos completely. I will not forget Alhaji Lateef Lakonde, 1979 to 1983, or earlier 84, when he was governor. He did so greatly well. And when Asiwaju came, Asiwaju simply is the father of modern Lagos, is the architect of modern Lagos. And he laid the foundation, which is successors, Governor Tunde Fashola, and now the hardworking, the performing, the pragmatic Governor Akeem Membode is building on. These are gentlemen who have put their all in service of the people. Well, Lagos is blessed by people who have the passion for the job, who have the vision, who have the mission, who want to work, and they want to make effects and results.
I'm wondering why you're dressed like this, because if Lagos is celebrating, are we saying that Lagos has a defined cultural way of life that is also worth celebrating?
Of course, yes. That's why we see Lagos is the next tourist destination of Africa.
Because if you look at the multicultural nature of people who live in Lagos, you wonder if your dress style is really out there, because you don't, on a normal day you don't see people dressed like this.
Well, you see, the thing is, this is ceremonial. It doesn't mean I should not dress like this. I can without the akete that I'm wearing, but it's ceremonial. But for people who work, if you know the significance of the cap I'm wearing, is to prevent the sun and all of that. It's not just for style. It's actually to prevent the sun. So if during the time you are fishing or you are farming, you know, that will be very instructive, a material for you to use. So to say that the cultural diversity of Lagos is plethora is not in doubt. Lagos is a cosmopolitan state. So many people have brought their culture to be fused with the traditional cultures of Lagos. And Lagos continued to accommodate, Lagos continued to, include everybody in the scheme of things. So the dressing of Lagos, the culture of Lagos, the norms of Lagos, the value system of Lagos are such that they are so enviable that everybody wants to copy Lagos.
I'm wondering, at 50, what exactly is Lagos celebrating? Are we just celebrating for the sake of, oh, we are 50 now? What are because I know at the beginning we talked about the transformation from 1999 and even before 1999. So what are those landmarks that we are celebrating right now?
Oh, so much landmarks. And Lagos is so dynamic, so kaleidoscopic that before you remark an event, many others have taken place. You see, how many we do is we cannot even count the number of development projects that Lagos is almost akin to the western capital cities. If you look at our transport system, no state can boast of that. Not even Abuja, the federal capital territory, can boast of the efficiency of the BRT system. So many things that happen in Lagos that are sui generic as far as Nigeria is concerned, and that have no replication in other parts of the country. Lagos is the only state, without being modest and returning the glory to God and acknowledging the efforts of the men who are doing the yeoman job, from Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu to Governor Akinwumi Ambode, that Lagos is the only state that we can say is economically viable to be so-called a state in Nigeria today. It is because, not because if somebody said, oh, Lagos is endowed, Lagos has money. If Lagos may have money, Lagos may be endowed, but if there is no pragmatic and prudent management of those resources will be plundered or frittered away, just the way, of course, Nigeria at the time was so much endowed that we used to have almost double of what we benchmarked for oil returns. But what did you do with it? Nothing. So to say that it's not just enough to say, oh, after all, Lagos has resources. Lagos may have the resources, but it takes people. A very sharp cutlass cannot cut a tree by itself. Some people have to make it work. So the people that have made and are making Lagos work should be acknowledged and appreciated.
All right, Lagos is 50, and you're from the State House of Assembly.
Yes.
Invariably, we know that the first assembly in Lagos was inaugurated in 1979. That makes the House of Assembly just 38. So I'm wondering why the State Assembly is even celebrating this big as this. And is it right to say that bigger than the executive?
No. We are just keying in. The Lagos Assembly is an integral part of Lagos government. The government stands on the tripod of the executive, legislature, and the judiciary. So to say it's not entirely correct that Lagos Assembly is an independent arm, strictly so-called. We are independent, no doubt about that, and we don't compromise our functions. But at the same time, we are fused, sort of, with other arms of government. So whatever is good for the goose is good for the gander too. And Lagos State Assembly, having contributed immensely to the growth and development of Lagos, in the dynamics of development of Lagos, Lagos State Assembly has provided enablement. Appropriation for expenditure has always been well considered and timeously done, such that we don't delay government projects. If, for example, now we have not passed the 2017 budget as of now, I doubt if all the roads and bridges that His Excellency the governor is commissioning will have been made possible, because we will have our loathsomeness will have affected the pace or tempo of those development projects. So we're keen to development projects. We support the governor, support the executive. We partner with the government in good.
All right, I don't want this discussion to be just between you and I. So I think we should just take the discussion to the streets of Lagos. Let's listen to the views of Lagosians about the celebration, Lagos at 50.
It's a transformation from 0 to 100.
The Lagos state government they are really trying. They are really trying. I appreciate them.
The go-slow stopped. No more go-slow here. If some people came to Lagos, they don't believe this is a beggar. They will say that it is a beggar, or they see in the front. You are telling them this is a beggar. You just climb the bridge and cross the other side.
All right, it's like it's more of praising the efforts of the government of the day, and also it's more of a good stories about Lagos. Is it like there are no other complaints, no negative things to talk about Lagos, or is it just because we're celebrating we have to just see the good side of it?
The truth of the matter is that there's always room for improvement, and we are just starting. We aren't even there yet. The smart city Lagos is yet to be achieved. The mega city Lagos is yet to be achieved. But we have the potentialities to be all we want to be. The thing is that we are hopeful, because at the pace at which Lagos is going, Lagos shall achieve its desires. There are challenges in any cosmopolitan state. There are challenges. Of course, there are challenges of security. There are challenges of exertion on infrastructure, or overstretch of limited resources. But the truth is that Lagos State government is responding to these challenges. We look at the challenge of security. Some years ago, maybe about 2-3 years ago, it was so bad that people were being attacked on the road, even in broad daylight. At the time too, up to about a month ago.
Are you saying that has stopped?
Well, that's drastically, considerably, I can assure you that has stopped. If you compare what is happening to Lagos to other states, other cities in the world, then you will know that Lagos is tolerably, to a large extent, secure and safe. Go to Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, go to Johannesburg in South Africa, then you will know that Lagos deserves to be praised for all our the demographic and topographic peculiarities of Lagos, yet we have this relative security. Look at about a month ago when some people, some insurgents, came, masquerading as militants and were kidnapping people in Ikorodu. We have not passed the 2017 budget as of now. I doubt if all the roads and bridges that His Excellency the Governor is commissioning will have been made possible, because we will have our loathsomeness will have affected the pace or tempo of those developmental projects. So we're keen to developmental projects. We support the governor, support the executive, we partner with the government in good.
All right, I don't want this discussion to be just between you and I, so I think we should just take the discussion to the streets of Lagos. Let's listen to the views of Lagosians about the celebration, Lagos at 50.
It's a transformation from 0 to 100.
The Lagos state government they are really trying. They are really trying. I appreciate them.
The go-slow stopped. No more go-slow here. If some people came to Lagos, they don't believe this is a beggar. They will say that it is a beggar, or they see the front. You are telling them this is a beggar. You just climb the bridge and cross the other side.
All right, it's like it's more of praising the efforts of the government of the day, and also it's more of a good stories about Lagos. Is it like there are no other complaints, no negative things to talk about Lagos, or is it just because we're celebrating we have to just see the good side of it?
The truth of the matter is that there's always room for improvement, and you are just chatting. We aren't even there yet. The smart city Lagos is yet to be achieved. The mega city Lagos is yet to be achieved. But we have the potentialities to be all what we want to be. The thing is that we are hopeful, because at the pace at which Lagos is going, Lagos shall achieve its desires. There are challenges in any cosmopolitan state. There are challenges. Of course, there are challenges of security. There are challenges of exertion on infrastructure or overstretch of limited resources. But the truth is that Lagos State government is responding to these challenges. We look at the challenge of security. Some years ago, maybe about 2-3 years ago, it was so bad that people were being attacked on the road, even in broad daylight. At the time too, up to about a month ago.
Are you saying that has stopped?
Well, that's drastically, considerably, I can assure you that has stopped. If you compare what is happening to Lagos to other states, other cities in the world, then you will know that Lagos is tolerably, to a large extent, secure and safe. Go to Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, go to Johannesburg in South Africa, then you will know that Lagos deserves to be praised for all our the demographic and topographic peculiarities of Lagos, yet we have this relative security. Look at about a month ago when some people, some insurgents, came, masquerading as militants and were kidnapping people in Ikorodu and, consuming the
yes, I was going to ask you that.
But look at what's happening now. They are nowhere to be found anymore. Lagos State government will not tolerate it. Governor Akinwumi Ambode will not spare any cost. The State House of Assembly will continue to be on our toes to see that the good of our people become better. We will not tolerate any act of lawlessness. We will not fold our arms and allow anybody to run over Lagos. It's not possible.
So there are actually many questions to ask you, because you talked about the mega city nature of Lagos, and how can you have a mega city that has no train station? I know there are projects, real projects ongoing. Why is your own assembly that you represent not really hammering that this particular project and some others that will actually bring out the mega city drive of the government really be fast-tracked?
I did not tell you, or I did not tell the questions that we have achieved the smart city or we have achieved the mega city. I said we have the potentialities, we have the hope, and we have the pillars, we have the structure in place to take us to where we are going. The train you talk about, that system is already
you know why I asked you that question? Because I know that the governor of Lagos State, Mr. Akinwumi Ambode, is working very hard to make sure that the city is free of traffic.
Yeah. And
we can see that that's happening right now. But people would as well want to know the state of the rail system. So I'm wondering, if you are the representative of the people in the House of Assembly, they really want to know what you are doing to make sure that, okay, that is also fast-tracked. It's part of the things.
You see, it's not only about rail system. It's about proliferating the means of transportation of our people from one point to another. and to make it not just efficient, to make it also time effective. Okay. The governor, you can see with the ingenuity of the governor, with the intuitiveness of the governor, he had constructed so many laybys, and traffic snarl is almost becoming a thing of the past in Lagos.
Let's quickly take this call. Idris from Lagos. Idris, good afternoon. Oh, we lost the call. Okay.
But you see, thinking outside the box is the way a leader can go. And that's what people like Governor Ambode, should be given credits for. Okay. Thinking outside the box. The rail system is not the end. There are so many other ways. Lagos is going to utilize
even the waterways.
That's what I'm saying. Lagos is going to utilize the natural endowment of water. Water will not be a cost to Lagos. Water is a blessing to Lagos, it will soon manifest as a true blessing to Lagos. Just fold your arms and cooperate with the government and see as we offload these plans from point to point.
All right, let's quickly take this call. Olatunde is on the line. Olatunde, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
How are you today?
I'm very okay.
Okay, let's have your contribution. Lagos is 50.
Yes. Well done.
Oh, we lost that call again. Okay, Honorable Tunde Braimoh, how is the Lagos State House of Assembly celebrating? Because I know that the executive has embarked on many projects. The governor has commissioned many laudable projects in less than 2 years of assuming office. And I'm wondering, how do you, the direct representative of the people, want to also join in this celebration?
We are joining, we are joining, and we are going to manifest our participation in this Yuletide period, in the pomp and pageantry of Lagos being 50 on Monday, the 22nd of May 2017. Lagos State House of Assembly premises, the complex of the Assembly, shall be a beehive of activities. We are expecting His Excellency, former Governor of Lagos State, national leader of APC, the respected, the venerated, the revered leader of men and opinions, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to come around to open the L-shaped assembly complex that's just been constructed, finally fully constructed. It's been there partly, but now it's fully constructed. And that edifice shall house some new innovations in legislative practice.
All right, sorry, Honorable Braimoh. Chidi is calling in from Kaduna. Chidi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, presenter. Good afternoon, guests.
Good afternoon.
How are you today? And how is Kaduna?
Yes, Kaduna is fine. And how is Lagos?
Lagos is very well, although it's wet out there.
It's all right. I can see. I want to felicitate with the Lagosians and the government of the day for what they have done so far since the creation of Lagos State 50 years ago. Are you with me?
Yes, we're with you. We're listening.
So, in fact, Lagos has played a very pivotal role as far as the Nigerian project is concerned. And I want to believe that the history of Lagos will stand the test of time in the years to come. So I wish Lagos a very happy 50-year anniversary, and the current government to continue to do the good work in order to bring Lagos to the threshold of history. Thank you, and God bless you.
All right, thank you very much, Chidi.
Thank you very much. That's a very patriotic Nigerian. Thank you very much.
That's a patriotic Nigerian. And we talked about the diversity of Lagos, and Chidi is probably from the southeast and lives in the north.
Yeah.
So now, and he still associates himself with the success story of Lagos.
Exactly.
Is your assembly, what role did your assembly, or what role has your assembly played in the success story?
Well, let me quickly, before I answer that question, let me quickly conclude on what's going to happen on Monday, 22nd of May, 2017. As usual, we commissioned the L-shaped edifice office complex built by the assembly. After then, we shall go back to plenary and have a special session which shall be attended by Lagos representatives in the National Assembly. Okay. Our senators and our House of Rep members will join us at the State Assembly to, talk about, review the Lagos project. After reviewing the Lagos project, We have invited guest lecturers, Professor Patrick Lumumba of the Kenya Law School and Professor Bismarck Rewani, a Nigerian renowned economist, will come to give us insights.
I'm sorry, I have to cut you short again. We have Joseph from London. Joseph, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you today?
I'm fine, sir.
Okay, let's have your contribution then.
I'll call you back.
Okay, Joseph is undecided.
Yes.
Okay.
So the lectures will be able to talk about the role of the legislature in the economic advancement and dynamics of Lagos, and also the importance of legislature in democratic governance. So these are our contribution to bringing to the fore and the front burner issues that are relevant to our constitutional and democratic development. So apart from that, when you now going back to your question, what role has Lagos State government
because Nigerians would really want to know
played in the achievements? Lagos State Assembly has, like I've told you, been a proactive partner in progress with the executive in seeing to it that the good of our people become better and the greatest happiness go to the greatest number of Lagosians. Lagos State Assembly at times even set agenda for the executive, because through our oversight functions we review, we observe developments in the polity, we observe it and we review it and we send resolutions to the governor, whom we must commend for being a true democrat. It does not guide our resolutions. He considers them, and most of the time, 95% of the time, he has implemented our resolutions. If you observe bad roads somewhere, observe security challenges, observe lack of potable water, anything we observe, the governor rises to it and sees to it that whatever, we ventilate the opinions of or the views of our constituents. When we receive report from them, we take them to plenary, make resolutions on them, and we are always assured, we rely that the governor always, acting to whatever calls we make. Also, we have sent resolutions to even the President of Nigeria and other federal agencies, and most of the time, our resolutions are well respected.
Okay, so much to talk about Lagos at 50. We'll go on a short break, and when we return, Standpoint continues. Please stay with us. All right, thank you for staying with us. We've been talking about the success story of Lagos. Lagos is 50, and I have with me Honorable Tunde Braimo. He is the Chairman, Lagos State House of Assembly Committee on Information Strategy and Security. We've talked about some of the successes recorded by previous administrations and how your own assembly, the Lagos State House of Assembly, has also helped in writing the story. But there are some other things Nigerians would like to know. For instance, we're talking about the internally generated revenue, which of course is a major issue in Nigeria. Not every state can live up to what Lagos is recorded right now. Not every state can record such a success. Now, the state is targeting about 60 billion naira every month. How can we achieve this? Is this really feasible?
Well, you see, the efforts of the governor in making infrastructure available to Lagosians, in both socially and physically, reducing traffic congestion or totally eradicating traffic congestion in Lagos State. So these things, totally eradicating traffic congestion in Lagos State. So these things, they don't just end in infrastructural provision alone. They translate into the economy of the state. Let's look at it. If somebody will spend 4 hours to arrive at a destination, and the time 1 hour that will be wasted in those 4 hours is reduced to about 1 hour, the productivity of that person will increase. And when that person has higher productivity, he will have better capacity to pay taxes. So these are the things we're talking about, that if we are able to produce or provide better infrastructure so that people can manage their time better and do their businesses better, reduce illnesses and avoidable plagues like high blood pressure, hypertension, and other things that are affiliated with stress, then we have a healthy population, a population that can be productive. And when we have that, that will engender people being able to pay taxes and other revenues to the state.
With that target, I hope you're not going to increase tax.
No. You see, with about 21 billion people, we don't need to necessarily increase tax. What we need to do is to expand the tax net. And that's what we're trying to do now. And that, you see, the governor is so, you know, he's a financial wizard, which is using so well. Because, you see, he doesn't want stress for Lagosians. That's why he removed the VIOs from the road.
Yeah, I was going to ask you because...
The VIO removed from the road because what the harm they were creating was more than the harm they were avoiding, or they were eradicating. Well, the arms of driving recreational vehicles and all that, but they were creating more harm than the one they sought to remove from the streets of Lagos. They were creating arms of traffic congestion, harassing the people, stressing the people, intimidating the people, and all of that. Governor did not like that.
Can you just take them off the street without the Lagos State House of Assembly being a part of it? That agency must have been set up by the law.
No. You see, the agency, well, is by the law, but not a particular law.
So can you just scrap an agency like that, or take them off the street?
You can reappraise, you can reconsider, you can just oppose, you can rearrange your administrative machinery. It's not static. Ministries, departments, agencies are all creations of the law. But the way you make them function optimally is the way you arrange them. So the fact that VIOs were removed does not need the concurrence of the House of Assembly. But it was not scrapped. It's an agency. It's going to work, but in an automated way. No longer physically, no longer with the force of the law or with the force of the hand or bringing people up by the hand. You don't get abrasive. You don't get overwhelmingly physical when you deal. You see, when you go to the streets of London and you have an issue with traffic, before you get to your house, you will have met your bill. And you have met your contravention notice and all of that. Nobody runs after you, but the camera is automated. It records you and automatically processes your bill. That is not subjective. That will not make somebody to be corrupt. That will not make somebody to say, okay, we'll look at you, okay, this is a reporter, he has more money. Okay, let me charge him 100,000 when maybe another person will pay 20,000. But the system is congenial, is something that is standard and that can charge people according to their offenses without being subjective. So the government is trying to bring the face of civilization into all of this.
So it's right to say that that decision was taken in the interest of the people?
In the interest of the people, and I'm sure the people applaud it. If you had been a victim of the overbearing or the overzealousness of some of these so-called officials before, you will appreciate what the government is doing. Okay. At the risk of reducing the revenue of the government. This is to show that the government is not all out about revenue. That, at all costs, if you want to be just economic in our standpoint, that what we focus on, our focal point shall be revenue, then whichever way it comes is good. But whether it comes physically, it comes through aberration, it comes through unnecessary contravention, you want to take it. But the truth is that we are not out to take money at all costs. We are out to take money that is legitimate, money that is decent, money that can give people confidence and love, respect, adoration for the government. Money that can make the people know that this government is their own and not overlord.
Honorable Tunde Braimoh, I know that many Nigerians will be wondering what role or what responsibility or what duties these VIOs will now be doing now that they're no longer on the roads. How do they work? Will they just be paid every month? Will they be sacked?
I've told you,
those are questions Nigerians may
well, they will not be sacked, but they will be deployed to other good areas. And like I've told you, they are not going to be redundant. They are going to work, but they will be working in an automated way. They need to work in a technologically advanced manner, not by having physical altercation, physical brawls with the people. There was a time maybe a last mile official was running after a bus, and the bus hit somebody died, it became a riot, things like that. Yeah. A senior official of last mile was killed in Apapa. Yeah. A repressor, and all of that. You see, no responsible government will want this kind of things to continue. Right. You want to reduce level of physical relationship with the people. Of course, the government must do his work and get result. But at what cost and in what manner does the government do that work? So it's not responsible for government to operate that way.
Okay, let's go into something else now, because we're definitely talking about the success story of Lagos. So let's go into Lagos politics. Why is it so difficult for people to understand? In the last 17 years or more?
More.
Yeah, or more.
18
years now.
19,
18 going to 19. Yeah. Exactly Okay, 18 more than 18 going to 19.
Yes.
Now, we have had just a political party reigning and running the affairs in Lagos. Is that the reason why the Lagos story is different from the story of other states?
Well, it's continuity has its own attributes.
Or is it like the opposition do not even have a face?
But they will have a face. Of course, the minority will have their say. The majority will have its way at all times. They have a face, but the truth is that people are convinced, and they don't want to toy with their own livelihood and well-being. And I thank the good people of Lagos State for the confidence they repose in the tendency of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. When we say there is only one political party, from AD metamorphosed to ACN, to AC, ACN metamorphosed to ACN, ACN metamorphosed to APC, about 4 political parties, but the same tendency headed by the irresponsible, the super intelligent, diligent, hardworking Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Because intuition is a gift from God. Leadership is not something you just acquire. It's something that may be ascribed or may be trusted upon you. But you need to work on it. You need to be very resourceful. You need to be very researchful. You need to be somebody who can dig deep so that you can manifest your potentialities in leadership. Yeah. The people of Lagos State should be eulogized for supporting us to continue. Because if we had tried some other tendencies, I'm sure the success story would not be this rosy. It cannot be better than this for now. In the circumstances of Nigeria, look at others, just compare. When you stray, without being modest, if you stray, maybe you are driving and you just stray into Ogun State, you will see the difference immediately. There was a day I was around the Jew area, around Greyland, and I strayed into some parts of Ogun State. Immediately I was worried, where am I? Because you will see the topography, the difference immediately. I'm not being modest here, and I know Ogun State is trying. Of course, Ogun State government right now under Amosu, they are doing a great job. They are bringing the state up, but you cannot compare the standard to Lagos. I'm
wondering, the politics of Lagos is really difficult to understand. Is it difficult? Because during the last election, into the general election, especially the legislative elections in Lagos State, you had about 6 members of the opposition winning seats. And
8 members.
8 members at that time, right?
Yes.
But thank you for correcting me.
Yeah.
And now, at that point, many Lagosians felt, okay, now we can have the voice of the opposition. But surprisingly, it's like they have also joined the ruling party. Is it like the Lagos State House of Assembly is just a rubber stamp, or there's something about the politics of this state that most Nigerians do not understand, and if they understand, it will work well in other states?
Well, if you view it from the purpose, you are not just in opposition for the sake of being in opposition. When we were in opposition, APC, our tendency, the Asiwaju tendency was in opposition, and you had the vibrance of people like Alhaji Lai Mohammed at that time. Asiwaju himself would not allow any national issue to go by without commenting. Jonathan will have extended his own time to 6 years, of a single time to 6 years. Why not for the voice of Asiwaju, who kicked against it? So many things were done. Even the national conference that was convoked by Jonathan was criticized by Asiwaju, and that was why that was ill-timed, and that was why the report of that committee was not implemented by anybody up to today. So let me say this, that you are not just in opposition for being in opposition. You must be able to grasp the issues. What has the PDP done today as members of opposition? Opposition is an integral part of democracy. There is no good government without opposition. But what has the opposition done? What are they doing as members of the opposition right now? You should ask them that question, because they are moribund and they are just obsolete as an opposition party. And nobody is emasculating anybody. The people in the House of Assembly that defected to the ruling party were convinced about the giant strides, about the maturity, the congeniality, the conviviality, the Bonhoeffian nature of the leadership of the House of Assembly headed by Right Honorable Mudashiru Ajayi Obasa. The way he operates the House of Assembly openly, transparently, without inhibition, without any concealment, convince those people to say, look, this is a good team. And the governor of Lagos meets with members of the House of Assembly periodically to review state issues, and we have robust debates, at times arguments on issues, informally with the governor, to convince him on matters that will stand. And those people were able to participate freely. Roads in their areas were being fixed on their request. development programs were taken to their place. Once they can marshal good argument and they can convince the rest of the House and the executive of their good intentions, and they were getting all this. So they were wowed and they were mauled.
Before we put an end to this discussion about Lagos at 50, nightlife in Lagos, and then the tradition of Lagos, the cultural tradition of Lagos, is it really transient? The cultural tradition first before we go into the nightlife. What I mean by transient is, are we really passing down the cultural heritage, the Lagos cultural heritage, to the younger ones?
Of course.
Are there ways, are there efforts in place? Because I grew up in Abeokuta, for instance. I know that I can rightly sing and speak Yoruba very well. I know that the Adire is our own traditional attire in Abeokuta. But as a son of Ijebu, a boy from Ijebu, I know that Ikokore is a delicacy. Yes. And I know that, okay, this is the way it is made. Are there efforts to make sure that the Lagos culture, not the cosmopolitan, not the foreign culture, that the Lagos culture, indigenous culture, is passed down to the coming generation, so that at a point we can have people who can rightly talk about the history of Lagos?
Well, first, let me say that the Lagos State House of Assembly is in the process. A law is in the works now. The law has passed the second reading. We have done a public hearing. A stakeholders conference has been convoked on the law. The law is to be reported. It's in the committee stage now, awaiting reports for the third reading. And by the third reading, we'll pass the law. So the law, in the next couple of weeks, it will become a law in Lagos State that the teaching of Yoruba in public and private primary schools and secondary schools will be compulsory. And all Lagos tertiary institutions shall recognize credit passes in Yoruba language as one of the credits, irrespective of the background, of course, one of the credits that are relevant.
All right, let's quickly take this call. Adeshola is calling us from Lekki. Adeshola, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, good to have you here.
Adeshola calling. Please pass this message to Governor Ambode that we love him. This VIO, hey, they can terrorize us, even with all your particulars complete. Anytime I just see white in front like this, my heart beats, forget. Please, we love him. God.
All right, thank you very much.
I can assure you, the governor loves you too. And he's not resting on his oars. It's not taking anything lightly. It's not taking anything for granted. It's not leaving any stone unturned to make the lot of Lagosians better.
Okay, because, you know, the VIOs are off the roads now. I hope some other groups are not also trying to take over their job, stopping motorists, because if somebody like Adeshola is thanking the governor for that, they should also watch out. The assembly should also watch out for probably the police trying to take over their responsibility.
And that's why we are there. When people observe
the police trying to take over their responsibility.
And that's why we are there. When people observe this, like I've told you, we debate on issues that we observe of observation according to the reports that we get from our constituents. Right. If we have such reports, we will debate it, make resolution on it. Right. And of course, the police are, the Commissioner of Police of Lagos State, very decent gentleman, a good face of modern day policing. Is a great guy, and I'm sure we have had cause to invite him several times and to interface and interact with him on need for good relationship between our people and the police, and he has been fantastic. So we have no problem with it.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable Tunde Brahimo. So much for Lagos at 50. Let's move on to another big story that broke in the outgoing weekend. That's talking about the passage of the 2017 budget. And of course, Honorable Tunde Brahimo, being a member of the Lagos State House of Assembly, will also have a discussion with me on that. The National Assembly on May the 11th approved a budget size of 7.44 trillion naira, which is expected to be signed by the president. The acting president will do that, we understand. Of course, there is an increase of 1.43 billion naira as 4.3 billion naira as the executive had sent the budget proposal of 7.3 trillion naira to the legislature. The National Assembly also increased its own budget from 11 billion naira it got in 2016 to 125 billion naira for the fiscal year. This was quickly followed by a lot of intrigues as the action did not go down well with the masses. Let's look at other features of the budget. 1.8 trillion naira is earmarked for debt servicing, and fiscal deficit is 2.35 trillion naira. 434.4 billion naira is for statutory transfers, and more than 177 billion is for shrinking fund for maturing bonds. Also, 3 trillion is for recurrent expenditure and 2 trillion for capital expenditure. For debt servicing, 1.66 trillion is allocated, and 178 billion is for sinking fund to retire maturing loans. The Minister of Budget and National Planning, Udoma, says the federal government will issue new oil licenses as part of efforts to explore new streams of revenue to fund the 2017 budget. According to Udoma, a total of 10 trillion naira is targeted by the federal government as revenue for the 2017 fiscal year. About 5 trillion is expected to be generated from the sale of crude oil. Non-oil revenue will take in about 5 trillion naira. Yes, Honorable Tunde Braimo, you just listened to all those figures, but Nigerians are definitely wondering, how do we fund a budget that is as huge as this?
Well, it is gratifying to hear the Minister of Budget saying that we will get 10 trillion naira, 5 trillion from oil sources and 5 trillion for non-oil sources. Though I'm confused because it's still providing 2.something trillion to be funded by as fiscal deficit. When you have 10 trillion as income, I don't think you need, and you want to spend 7.4 trillion. I wonder where we are going to get deficit from. So that's to show that he too knows, or they too know, that the 10 trillion is not realistic, and they're not likely to make it or get even near halfway that. So they need to show it up. That's why they are proposing a fiscal deficit of about 2.something trillion. But all said and done, I think we really, if they can project us having 10 trillion as revenue, they really need to work on that. We should just stop being an expenditure country and try as much as possible to focus on being an income-making country.
How do we go about that? Because we're so the economy is really dependent on oil, and for crying out loud, the Federal Inland Revenue Service is targeting more than 3 trillion naira. Well, that's even sketchy. They're not sure if they will achieve that.
Well, if they are saying we can get 5 trillion from oil and they can get 3.some trillion from FRSI alone, yes, and customs is there, Nigerian Post Authority is there, that means we have the potential of making the money. So what we should just do is to block all the leakages, block all the wastages, and block all the privileges, and we should just work harder. Honestly, if we can work harder, that means we can make it as a country, because the kind of figures being banded now is such a relief to me. But I was wondering, because last year we had about 6 trillion in the budget, and then with about 2 trillion, a third of it from oil sources, another third of it from non-oil sources, another 1/3 of it from deficit, that's borrowing and all of that. But this time around, though they see proposed for borrowing, I don't know why they want to borrow. If they can make 10 trillion and they want to spend about 8 trillion.
It's just a projection.
But what makes you work harder? If you can project it, if you can think it, you can make it. If you can conceive it, you can achieve it. If they can think it, let them work towards, let them put machinery in place and achieve it for the good of Nigerians.
They're also planning to also fund they're planning to fund this budget with looted funds, because Nigerians have been asking, the funds recovered from
no, they did not
maybe.
No, that's not part of that.
Maybe.
How much would the looted funds be? I think they are not talking about that really. But I think the thing is, it's part of the revenue expected. It's one of the subheads. It's not a major head. It's going to be a subhead. But the thing is that whatever source they want to fund it from, once it's not this deficit funding, borrowing to postponing the evil day. If it's oil sources, FRS, customs, other non-oil sources, let them be assiduous about it. And let us do whatever we want to do well and in good time too. The passage of budget in May should stop. We should discourage that, because implementation cannot be dramatic and cannot be as dynamic as we were expected to be. So we need to plan well to be able to achieve what we set to achieve.
It's obvious that we're not producing enough oil. There is a projection of 2.2 million barrels per day, and that is actually not the exact production that Nigeria has at this time. How can we, why should we depend on oil when we don't have, why should we project 2.2 million barrels when we know that we don't produce as much as that?
We are going to achieve that now because the efforts of the acting president in the Ogun region, in the Niger Delta region, is what is making us to be sure that we can get. Last year we benchmarked 1.2 million. Now we are getting back to 2.2, and that's why we can be ambitious to say we can get 5 trillion from oil sources. So the efforts has paid off. The vice president, at the risk of his life, at the risk of everything, was practically almost living in the Niger Delta. And the efforts, the reconciliation effort he has made is yielding these fruits now. And we hope that this will not translate directly to cash for Nigerians this year. So I'm hopeful. I know that source is dependable. That's a dependable source.
You have intentions. The country has plans to also service its debts. But then you're still borrowing. How do you borrow to service your debt?
Well, these are the kind of intricacies of economics that one cannot really. I'm not an economist, but what is amazing to me there is that if we can project 10 trillion as income, why do we want to go into deficit funding to about over 2 trillion? I'm just wondering. I'm confused, but when you ask them questions, they will have answers. But the thing is that I think we should just de-emphasize this deficit funding. We should de-emphasize it. We should de-emphasize it.
We are almost in the middle of the year now, and the president or the acting president is yet to assent to the budget. So when do you think this budget will take effect? You are a lawmaker in Lagos, yes. And I don't know when your assembly passed the budget and when the governor signed it, but this budget, the 2017 budget that is expected to, that Nigerians are hoping that will bring about growth, when will it take effect?
Well, let's just ask the National Assembly why it took. The acting president was just given the budget last week, and with not the same budget that was sent to them, with about 143 billion difference in favor of the National Assembly, in favor of the funding of the internal funding of the National Assembly. This is that's embarrassing, and it's like saying that maybe the man does not have a choice than to sign it like that. You see, of course, the National Assembly has the power to tinker with budget. Of course, it cannot be a rubber stamp and return the same thing that was sent to it. National Assembly had to make its own provisions and pros and cons, pros and minuses in the budget. But at a time like this, I wonder what National Assembly want to service with another 143 billion naira. But with that as it may, let me tell you this. In December 2016, the 2017 budget was laid before the House of Assembly on the 17th of December 2016. And by the 4th of January 2017, by the grace of God, the budget was returned to the governor, passed by the House of Assembly. We denied ourselves of the Christmas break. We didn't have any break at all. We only observed the public holidays, and only few of us were able to observe the public holidays. Members of the appropriation committee had no holiday at all. I can boastfully talk about that. They did not even go away on Christmas Day. They were in the office on Christmas Day. All of us were in the office on Boxing Day.
So much hard work. All
of us were in the office on New Year Day. And the first working day of the year, 4th of January, was the day we passed the budget.
This collaboration, is that what is making Lagos work?
Exactly, because we know that, okay, we look at it now. Last year, in the federal budget, 2016 budget, it was proposed that about 7 or 9 billion would be spent to feed school pupils every day. The budget was not passed until May. Implementation did not start until June. Schools were going on vacation. Schools had one time when the budget was passed. So the people believe that, look, let us not just do this thing. Let's just put it on next year. This is the next year we're talking about. The budget has not been passed. That means that program, as lofty as it is, will not be achieved forever.
Thank you very much, Honorable Tunde Braimo, the Chairman, Lagos State House of Assembly Committee on Information, Strategy and Security. We started by talking about the Lagos celebration at 50 and also the 2017 budget. We want to thank you so much, Honorable Braimo, for coming. Thank you so much for being here. And we wish you well as you celebrate Lagos at 50. Thank you, sir. And that's the show today, and I want to say a big thank you to you for staying with us. You can watch a repeat of this broadcast every Sunday at 3 p.m. on DSTV. That's TVC News Nigeria on DSTV channel 418. Keep it with us next week for another edition I am Adetunji Adeteye. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.